Do you know how easy this is for me? Do you have any fucking idea how easy this is? This is a fucking joke.
My boy's wicked smart. Those 4 words from a beer-soaked Boston bar launched 2 unknown actors from sleeping on couches to clutching Oscar gold in less than 3 years. Good Will Hunting wasn't just a movie about a genius janitor solving impossible math problems while mopping floors at MIT. It was proof that 2 broke kids from Cambridge with a dream, a couch, and 0 connections could hijack Hollywood by hiding explicit content in their script to catch executives who weren't actually reading it. Welcome to the story of a film that started as a college homework assignment, survived a studio trying to turn it into Beverly Hills Cop with equations, and became an accidental masterclass in how to launch a career when you're so desperate you'll lose 40 pounds and nearly die just to get noticed. Today we're diving into 15 weird facts about the movie that gave us Robin Williams making cameramen shake with laughter, a director who wanted to crush Ben Affleck like a bug, and Matt Damon fighting for the worst haircut in cinematic history while living in a janky party house with 8 roommates. Now, before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe because it really does help this channel. Number 15. Hollywood wanted James Bond to play the therapist. Forget Robin Williams for a second. Picture this instead. Sean Connery as a Boston therapist. James Bond himself delivers "It's not your fault" with a Scottish brogue. That's what almost happened. The studio wanted star power. They wanted the guy who'd played 007 to anchor a movie written by 2 complete unknowns. Connery could open the film. Connery could sell tickets. Connery had the gravitas. Connery said no. So they went to Robin Williams instead, and Williams didn't just take the job. He demanded to experience South Boston first. He asked Matt Damon and Ben Affleck to show him around the neighborhood so he could understand the world of the film. Big mistake. They took him to the L Street Tavern, a rough dive bar in Southie. The second Williams walked through the door, the locals mobbed him. People recognized him. People wanted drinks. And according to Affleck, people wearing backwards baseball caps tried to pick fights with him. Williams absolutely loved it. He was so charmed by the authenticity and chaos of the place that he went straight to the producers and said, "This is where we film. Use this actual bar." The L Street Tavern became one of the most iconic locations in the movie, all because Sean Connery passed and Robin Williams said yes, then got mobbed in a Southie dive bar and decided that was exactly the vibe the film needed. Number 14. They hid explicit scenes to catch executives who weren't reading. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck had a problem. Studios were fighting over their Good Will Hunting script in a massive bidding war. Executives were calling it brilliant, but the duo suspected nobody was actually reading past page 10. So they planned a test. Around page 60 of the screenplay, they wrote a completely explicit scene between Will and his therapist Sean. Not subtle, not metaphorical. A full paragraph describing graphic activities that made 0 sense for a drama about childhood traumas and genius. "We were so frustrated that Castle Rock wasn't reading the script," Affleck admitted years later. "We felt like we had to develop this test." Meeting after meeting, studio after studio, nobody mentioned it. Nobody questioned why 2 straight characters in a Boston drama suddenly engaged in wildly inappropriate behavior on page 60. Executives just nodded and said they loved the script, until one meeting changed everything. One executive actually called them out. "About page 60, he said, "the 2 professors engage in this whole scene. What the hell is that?" Damon and Affleck looked at each other. This guy had actually read it, every page, every word, including the deliberately bizarre content they'd planted to expose lazy executives. "That's the scene we wrote to find out whether guys in your job actually read the script," they told him. "You're the only one who brought it up. You get the movie." That executive was Harvey Weinstein at Miramax. And yes, the irony of that is not lost on anyone. But the tactic worked. The fake explicit scenes exposed which executives were faking it and which ones actually cared about the work. Number 13. The original script was an action thriller where they outrun the government, forget park bench therapy sessions. The first draft of Good Will Hunting was a full-blown action movie where Will Hunting used his genius to outsmart NSA agents, while his Southie crew helped him evade the government across Boston. Damon and Affleck described it as Beverly Hills Cop meets Midnight Run. Will solves an equation. The government discovers his genius. The NSA tries to recruit him. He refuses. They chase him. His townie friends help him escape in elaborate action sequences. The duo would get loaded on 6 to 12 beers, improvise chase scenes and one-liners, and record everything on a tape recorder. They did terrible impressions of Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro for roles they dreamed would be played by actual legends. When Rob Reiner at Castle Rock bought the script for $600,000 in 1994, he had one note that changed everything. "Look, you have 2 movies in this script," Reiner told them. "The action thriller or the character drama. Pick one." Reiner pushed hard for them to dump the spy subplot and focus on relationships. Damon and Affleck resisted because the NSA chase made up 60 pages they'd have to replace from scratch. But they finally gave in, cut the entire government conspiracy, and rewrote it as a straight drama. Only one scene from the thriller version survived: Will's interview with NSA recruiters, where he explains why he won't work for people who'd weaponize his brain. The twist. Years later, Matt Damon starred in the Bourne franchise, finally getting his action movie about a genius running from government agencies. Turns out he just had to wait for a bigger budget and some amnesia. Number 12, Matt Damon, nearly died, losing 40 pounds, right before filming. Matt Damon showed up to Goodwill, Hunting looking like a skeleton. Not because the role required it, because 6 months earlier, he'd almost destroyed his body for a completely different movie and still hadn't recovered. In 1996, Damon landed a small role in Courage Under Fire, playing a soldier with addiction issues. The part needed him emaciated, so Damon, desperate and unsupervised, lost 40 pounds in 100 days. His method was terrifying. Nothing but chicken breast, egg whites, plain broccoli, and baked potatoes. He ran 13 miles every single day. He drank 4 to 6 pots of coffee just to stay conscious. Director Edward Zwick saw Damon's appearance and ordered him to start eating. Damon refused. When he finally shot his 2-day scene with Denzel Washington, Damon weighed 139 pounds at 25 years old. Then the health consequences hit. Medical supervision for months. His stomach had expanded. He needed 2 years of medication to recover from what he'd done to his body. And here's the brutal irony. Damon had to immediately bulk back up for Goodwill Hunting. The timing was so catastrophic that when Steven Spielberg saw him during casting for Saving Private Ryan, Spielberg later admitted he'd wanted Damon for the title role, but was afraid he'd look too sick. Once Spielberg saw him at healthy weight during Goodwill Hunting production, he cast him immediately. Number 11, Robin Williams. Made the cameraman laugh so hard the camera physically shook. The most famous scene in Goodwill Hunting wasn't in the script. In the written version, Sean tells Will a story about his late wife turning off the alarm clock in her sleep. Will smiles. Sean takes a beat. End scene. But when cameras rolled, Robin Williams went completely rogue. "She used to pass gas in her sleep," Williams started, building the story in real time with zero warning. "One night it was so loud it woke the dog up. She woke up and gone like, 'Was that you?' I said, 'Yeah.' I didn't have the heart to tell her." Matt Damon's reaction in the film is 100% real. He's not acting. He's completely losing it because Robin Williams just improvised a story about his dead wife's bodily functions in the middle of an emotional scene, and nobody on set saw it coming. But here's the part that made it legendary. Watch the scene closely. The camera physically shakes. The frame bobs up and down right as Williams delivers the punchline. The cameraman was laughing so hard he couldn't hold the equipment steady. The entire crew tried to stay professional. They failed. Williams had been practicing the bit between takes to test reactions. So by the time they rolled for real, everyone was already on the verge of breaking. When Williams actually delivered it during the take, the cameraman just couldn't keep it together. Director Gus Van Sant saw the shaky footage and loved it so much he kept the take, camera shake and all. Williams won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for that role, and that improvised scene became one of the most quoted moments in the film. Number 10, a producer, said Minnie Driver wasn't attractive enough and she got Oscar nominated anyway. Minnie Driver earned an Oscar nomination for playing Skylar. Her chemistry with Matt Damon was electric. Her performance was vulnerable and sharp, and she almost didn't get the role because a producer thought she wasn't attractive enough for the part. According to Driver, a note was sent to the casting director expressing exactly that concern. Driver was 26, auditioning for her dream role, and somewhere in a production office, an executive was writing memos questioning whether she had the right look. I remember feeling so devastated, Driver later said, until I realized, hold on, just consider the source for a minute. That is an unutterable pig. Why on earth are you worried about this person saying that you are not sexy? But the damage was real. Driver worried the note would tank her chances. She worried she wouldn't be hired because she didn't fit someone's narrow definition of what a love interest should look like. Except Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and director Gus Van Sant fought for her. They wanted Driver for Skylar and refused to back down, pushing against the objections until she was cast. The following year, Driver was nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the Academy Awards, and the producer's note, it aged like milk in the Boston sun. Number 9. Matt Damon fought everyone for the worst haircut in cinematic history. Look at Matt Damon's hair in Good Will Hunting. The frosted tips, the highlights. The entire late 1990s boy band backup singer aesthetic was frozen forever on film. That wasn't a costume designer's mistake. That was Matt Damon's choice, and he fought for it. That is so my fault, Damon admitted years later, groaning. For whatever reason at that age, I love that haircut. Gus was like, really? Ben was like, really? If you look at Ben's hair in that movie, it's totally acceptable by today's standards, but no, I wanted the frosted hair. Director Gus Van Sant questioned it. Ben Affleck questioned it. The entire production looked at Damon's head and said, "Are we absolutely sure about this?" Damon insisted. He loved the look. He was convinced it worked for Will Hunting, a working-class Boston kid solving theorems in his spare time. Now, 25 years later, that haircut has become one of the most mocked aspects of the film. TikTok has entire tutorials on recreating it, and most of them are jokes. People cosplay Will Hunting for theme parties specifically to make fun of the frosted tips. Meanwhile, Ben Affleck's hair in the same movie looks completely normal by modern standards. The lesson? Sometimes your director knows better. Sometimes your best friend knows better. And sometimes you fight for the aesthetic choice that will haunt every single interview about the movie that made you famous. Damon won an Oscar for the screenplay, but he lost the hair battle with history. Number 8. Ben Affleck was sleeping on a couch when they sold the script for $600,000. It's 1994. Ben Affleck just went through a breakup and has nowhere to live. His first call is to Matt Damon, who's living in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment with another roommate. "I was sleeping on a Naugahyde couch," Affleck said. "It was 3 of us in this 2-bedroom little thing." While Affleck was sleeping on that plastic couch, Hollywood went insane for the Good Will Hunting screenplay. Word spread. Agents started calling. Within 4 days, a full-blown bidding war erupted for a script written by 2 unknowns. "It turned into this crazy, surreal thing," Affleck recalled. "When they finally sold it, they got $600,000, more money than either had ever seen. But they had a problem. No credit, no financial history, just 2 young actors with a check and a dream of not sleeping on furniture anymore. They found a rental house near the Hollywood Bowl. To convince the landlord, they showed up with a copy of Variety magazine announcing the script sale. It worked. They moved in and invited all their friends from Boston, 7 or 8 people living in one house. Selling a script for $600,000 doesn't make you rich when you immediately blow it by housing your entire friend group in a Hollywood party house. But a year later, they won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. Affleck, at 25, became the youngest person ever to win in that category, a record that still stands. Not bad for a guy who spent the previous year sleeping on a Naugahyde couch, wondering if he'd ever make it. Number 7. The director wanted to crush Ben Affleck like a bug. When Gus Van Sant came aboard as director, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck agreed to trust his vision completely. Whatever Gus wanted, they'd do. Then Gus told them he wanted to kill Chucky. "I want Chucky to get flattened on a construction site," Van Sant said during pre-production. Damon and Affleck stared at him. Chucky, Ben's character, was Will's loyal best friend, the heart of the movie. The guy who delivers the film's most emotional speech about believing in Will's potential. And Van Sant wanted to drop construction equipment on him. Despite their horror, the duo dutifully wrote the scene. Chucky shows up to work. Something goes catastrophically wrong. He gets crushed. The rest of the film becomes Will processing his best friend's death. When Van Sant read the draft, he immediately said, "It's a terrible idea. Throw it out." Wait, what? Van Sant had made them write an entire death sequence just to prove it didn't work. The whole thing was a creative exercise to show them why killing Chucky would destroy the film's emotional arc. Damon later revealed they also explored another dark ending where the antagonist Carmine returns with a baseball bat to end Will. Deep down, Will actually wanted it, Damon explained. It was his way out. Van Sant rejected that too. The film kept its hopeful ending. Will drives to California. Chucky finds the house empty and smiles, knowing his friend finally chose his future. And Ben Affleck survived the movie without being crushed by construction equipment, which definitely helped his career long term. Number 6, Kevin Smith saved the movie. After Castle Rock nearly destroyed it. Here's what nobody tells you about Good Will Hunting. It almost died at Castle Rock Entertainment. Rob Reiner's company bought the script for $600,000 in 1994, gave Damon and Affleck notes to remove the thriller subplot, then proceeded to sit on the project for months while the relationship turned toxic. Castle Rock wanted control. They wanted to rewrite it themselves. They wanted established stars, not two unknowns. The whole deal was falling apart. Enter Kevin Smith. Yes, that Kevin Smith. The Clerks director, who'd just become an indie darling. Ben Affleck took the script to Smith as a last resort, asking for help. Smith read it, loved it, and immediately called Miramax. He told them they needed to buy this script away from Castle Rock before the studio buried it forever. Miramax exec Harvey Weinstein called Damon and Affleck directly. He had 2 notes. First, remove the chess scenes with Will. Second, you've got to lose those explicit scenes between Will and Sean. Wait, Weinstein actually read it? He noticed the fake scenes they'd planted? That's when Damon and Affleck knew they'd found the right home. Castle Rock eventually let the project go, after making a deal that let Damon and Affleck shop it elsewhere if they could find a buyer within a specific time frame. They found one, Miramax, thanks to Kevin Smith. Without Smith making that call, Good Will Hunting might have died in development. Instead, it became the film that launched 2 careers and won 2 Oscars. Number 5. Robin Williams improvised the film's perfect final line. Earlier in the film, Sean tells Will about ditching his friends to chase the woman who became his wife. "Sorry, fellas, I got to go see about a girl." At the end, Will leaves Sean a note explaining he's driving to California to reunite with Skylar. He signs off with Sean's words, "I got to go see about a girl." In the script, Sean reads the note and smiles. That's it. But Robin Williams did take after take, saying something different every time he opened that mailbox. On one take, Williams looked up with this perfect mix of pride and mock annoyance and playfully cursed Will for stealing his line. They knew immediately. That improvised line became the final line of the entire film. It's the perfect button. Sean, proud that his lessons actually got through. The callback to their earlier conversation. The acknowledgement that Will isn't just leaving Boston, he's leaving with Sean's wisdom. Williams didn't plan it. He was riffing through takes, trying different emotional beats to see what worked. But in that one take, he nailed it. Pride, affection, playful annoyance. The sense that Sean's work is done, and Will has finally taken his first step. One improvised line, the perfect ending to an Oscar-winning film. Number 4. Michael Mann wanted to turn them into car thieves and recast Matt Damon. After Mel Gibson passed on directing Good Will Hunting, the studio went after Michael Mann. Yes, the Heat director. The guy who made action thrillers his entire career. Mann read the script and had notes. Big notes. First, he wanted Will and his friends to be car thieves instead of construction workers. Apparently, a genius janitor wasn't cool enough. A genius car thief? Now that's a Michael Mann movie. Second, he wanted to recast Matt Damon, the writers of the screenplay, the guys who'd sold the script with the explicit condition they'd star in it. Michael Mann wanted to keep Ben Affleck and fire Matt Damon. This was Damon's script. He'd written the first draft at Harvard. He'd co-written the final version with Affleck. The entire project existed because Damon created it, and Mann wanted to replace him with someone more established. Damon and Affleck had fought too hard to let that happen. The entire reason they'd planted fake scenes in the script was to find executives who'd let them maintain creative control, They'd turned down bigger offers from studios that wanted to hire Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt instead. They said no to Michael Mann. Shortly after, Gus Van Sant came aboard. Van Sant wanted to keep the construction workers. Van Sant wanted Damon and Affleck in the lead roles. Van Sant understood the movie they were trying to make. Sometimes the best thing that happens to your film is when the wrong director walks away. Number 3, Matt Damon. Started the script at Harvard and dropped out before turning it in. The script that won Matt Damon an Oscar started as homework he never turned in. Damon was at Harvard in 1992, taking a playwriting class. The final assignment? Write a one-act play. Damon wrote a 40-page film treatment instead. He created Will Hunting, the genius janitor. He wrote scenes about a kid from South Boston with an extraordinary mind and a traumatic past. He built the foundation for what would become Good Will Hunting. Then he got offered a role in Geronimo, an American legend, and dropped out of Harvard 12 credits short of graduation. He never turned in the assignment. The play sat in a drawer while Damon moved to Los Angeles, slept on Ben Affleck's floor, and bounced between auditions, wondering if leaving the Ivy League was the biggest mistake of his life. Years later, broke and desperate, he showed the Harvard assignment to Affleck. They decided to turn it into a full screenplay they could star in together. They spent months recording themselves improvising scenes while drinking beer, doing terrible impressions of actors they imagined would play the roles, building a script from that college homework Damon never completed. That assignment eventually sold for $600,000. It won them both Oscars. It launched 2 careers that are still going strong decades later. And somewhere in a Harvard filing cabinet, there's probably a grade sheet showing Matt Damon took an incomplete in playwriting. Number 2, they lived in a janky party house with 8 people after selling the script. After selling Good Will Hunting for $600,000, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck had more money than they'd ever seen. They also had 0 credit history and no idea how to be responsible adults. They found a house near the Hollywood Bowl. Affleck described it as a kind of janky party house. To convince the landlord to rent to 2 unknown actors with no credit, they showed up with a copy of Variety magazine announcing their script sale. It worked. They moved in and immediately invited everyone they knew from Boston. Friends crashed there. Friends of friends crashed there. At one point, 7 or 8 people were living in that house simultaneously. We rented this house on the beach in Venice, and 800 people came and stayed with us and got drunk. Affleck said, describing the chaos. They were 25 and 27 years old, with more money than sense, hosting an endless party for everyone who'd supported them when they were nobodies sleeping on couches. Then we ran out of money and had to get an apartment, Affleck admitted. Between car payments, rent, taxes, and housing half of Cambridge, Massachusetts, Affleck was broke again within 8 months. The $600,000 disappeared faster than they could track it. They went from sleeping on couches to living like rock stars to scrambling for apartments, all in less than a year. But here's the twist. While they were going broke in that party house, Good Will Hunting was getting made, and a year later, they were walking to the stage at the Oscars to accept Best Original Screenplay. Number 1, William Goldman got credit for writing it, and he had to keep denying it. William Goldman, legendary screenwriter of Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid and The Princess Bride, had to publicly deny writing Good Will Hunting multiple times. The rumors started immediately. 2 unknown kids in their 20s write an Oscar-winning screenplay on their first try? Hollywood couldn't believe it. There had to be a secret, a ghostwriter, a veteran fixing their amateur mistakes. The whispers pointed to Goldman. Here's what actually happened. Goldman was friendly with Affleck and Damon. He read the script as a favor. He gave them one major note: lose the government thriller subplot and focus on the characters. That's it. One piece of structural advice. But the rumors persisted. Even after Damon and Affleck won the Oscar, even after countless interviews confirming they wrote it themselves, people kept insisting Goldman did the real work. Goldman had to keep clarifying his minimal involvement because Hollywood literally refused to believe 2 young actors could write something that good without a master screenwriter secretly fixing it. The irony? Goldman's note to cut the NSA thriller was probably the single most important piece of feedback the script received. It transformed Good Will Hunting from a mediocre action movie into an intimate character study. But Goldman didn't write it. He just pointed them toward the better movie hiding inside their messy draft. Sometimes the most valuable contribution is telling someone what to remove, not what to add. And there you have it. 15 weird facts about the movie that prove two broke kids from Cambridge could write their way out of sleeping on couches and into Oscar history. So, which facts surprised you the most? Did we miss any wild stories from the production? Let us know in the comment section below. And hey, if you're still here, do us a solid, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel, thanks for watching, and until next time.